Welcome to Rare Coins Numix. You might want to check your wallet after this video, because hidden among your everyday pennies could be a coin worth a small fortune. These Lincoln cents aren't just rare, they're legendary. The 1984 USA 1-cent penny might seem like just another coin that gets tossed into a jar or exchanged at the store, but there's so much more to this small piece of currency than meets the eye. At first glance, the coin appears like any other penny you'd find in your pocket, but when you dive into its history, design, and the potential rare variations that can make it valuable, you'll quickly realize that the 1984 penny holds a unique place in the world of numismatics. In fact, this seemingly ordinary penny can be worth a lot more than its face value of just 1 cent, and today we're going to explore how and why.to begin. It's essential to understand the history behind the penny itself. The U.S. 1-cent penny has been a part of the American currency system since 1793, making it one of the longest-standing denominations in U.S. coinage. The design of the penny has gone through various changes over the years, but the most notable design change in the modern era was introduced in 1909 to honor President Abraham Lincoln. This new design, featuring a portrait of Lincoln on the obverse, front, of the coin, replaced the Indian head design that had been in use for several decades. Lincoln's likeness has been featured on the penny ever since, making it one of the most recognizable images in American coinage. The 1984 penny, like all modern pennies, was struck in copper-plated zinc. However, it's important to note that by the time the 1984 penny was minted, the composition of U.S. coins had undergone several changes. Prior to 1982, the penny was composed primarily of copper, but due to rising metal costs, the U.S. Mint switched the composition of the penny to a copper-plated zinc alloy, which is what the 1984 penny was made of. This switch caused some issues with the minting process, which would later contribute to some interesting variations and errors in these coins. The 1984 penny is a standard-sized coin with a diameter of 19.05 millimeters and a weight of 2.5 grams. It features the same classic design on the obverse, Abraham Lincoln's profile facing right, with the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" above, and the mint year, 1984, beneath. The reverse side of the coin displays a simple yet iconic image, the Lincoln Memorial, with the words "United States of America" and "E Pluribus Unum" inscribed around the image. The coin also includes the denomination, 1 cent, at the bottom. This design remained largely unchanged for many years and is one of the most enduring and well-loved designs in American coinage. While the 1984 penny may seem unremarkable in its design and composition, it is the errors and rarities associated with this coin that have drawn the attention of collectors. In fact, one of the key reasons the 1984 penny holds value among collectors is because of the number of minting errors that occurred during its production. Even though millions of 1984 pennies were minted, a small number of them contain rare errors that make them extremely valuable. The most famous error associated with the 1984 penny is the 1984 double die obverse. This occurs when the coin's die, used to stamp the image onto the planchet, blank piece of metal, is misaligned or improperly struck, resulting in the design being imprinted twice. As a result, the image on the coin appears to be doubled, with parts of the date, lettering, and Lincoln's portrait appearing blurry or shifted. Double die coins are highly sought after by collectors because they represent a rare mistake in the minting process, and they are often seen as unusual and unique pieces of American numismatic history. The 1984 double die obverse is one of the most famous and valuable penny errors, and it has gained significant attention in the coin collecting world. Coins with this error are especially prized when they are in excellent condition, as the clarity of the double strike can sometimes be difficult to detect. In some cases, the double strike is so pronounced that it's easy to spot with the naked eye, making these coins even more valuable. The most famous examples of this error have sold for tens of thousands of dollars, with some specimens fetching upwards of $100,000 at auction. In fact, the highest-grade 1984 double die obverse pennies have sold for incredible amounts, demonstrating just how much the value of these error coins can soar when they're in top condition. Another reason the 1984 penny is highly regarded by collectors is the potential for other rare varieties and errors, including off-center strikes and die cracks. Off-center strikes occur when the blank metal planchet is not properly aligned during the minting process, causing the design to be struck in the wrong position on the coin. These errors can be particularly striking and visually interesting, which is why they are often sought after by collectors. Die cracks, which occur when the minting die develops small fissures or breaks during the striking process, can also appear on the 1984 penny. These cracks can create interesting and unique patterns on the coin, which collectors often find appealing. In addition to these errors, the overall condition of the coin plays a significant role in determining its value. Coins that have been heavily circulated and show signs of wear and tear, such as scratches, discoloration, or fading of the design, will generally only be worth their face value of 1 cent. However, coins that are in mint condition, with little to no signs of wear, can fetch much higher prices. A 1984 penny that has been carefully preserved, perhaps even graded as a mint state coin by a professional grading service, can be worth a great deal more. Coins that are graded as MS-65 or higher, meaning they are in nearly perfect condition, are particularly desirable to collectors and are typically valued much higher than their face value. In fact, the highest grade examples of the 1984 double-die obverse penny have set records at auctions, making them some of the most sought-after coins in modern American numismatics. These rare error coins have sparked intense bidding wars among collectors, and the price of these specimens continues to rise as demand for unique and error-filled coins grows. The 1984 double-die obverse is perhaps the most famous example, but other rare 1984 penny varieties, such as off-center strikes and coins in mint condition, can also command impressive prices in the market. For those of you who may be wondering how to identify a valuable 1984 penny, it's important to closely examine the coin for any signs of errors. Start by checking the date and the lettering for any signs of doubling, which is the hallmark of the double-die obverse error. If you spot a doubling effect, that's a clear sign that your penny could be worth much more than its face value. It's also worth examining the overall condition of the coin. Coins in mint state are always more valuable than those that are heavily worn or damaged. If you think you might have a rare 1984 penny, it's a good idea to have it professionally graded by a reputable grading service to determine its true value. In conclusion, the 1984 USA 1-cent penny is far more than just a small piece of copper-plated zinc. While the majority of these coins are worth only their face value, certain rare errors and high-grade specimens can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The 1984 double-die obverse penny is one of the most famous examples of these valuable error coins, and it serves as a reminder that even the most common coins can hold hidden value. So, the next time you come across a 1984 penny, take a closer look. It just might be a rare find worth a lot more than you think. And the most valuable 1984 penny, a double-die obverse in pristine condition, recently sold for an astonishing $104,000 at auction, proving that even modern coins can hold extraordinary value when they have a rare characteristic or error. The 1994 USA 1-cent penny may seem like just another coin you pass by in your change jar or pocket without a second thought, but what if I told you that this tiny piece of copper-plated metal could hold a story worth far more than just 1 cent? Yes, this humble little penny, born in an era of fast-paced change and economic transition, might actually be hiding incredible value, especially if it happens to be one of the rare, sought-after varieties that collectors across the world dream of finding. So sit back as we unravel the fascinating tale behind the 1994 Lincoln penny, a coin that's as rich in history as it might be in value. To appreciate the significance of the 1994 penny, we have to step back and look at its place within the larger story of American coinage. The Lincoln cent has been a mainstay of U.S. currency since 1909, introduced to commemorate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. This was the first U.S. coin to feature a real historical figure, a departure from the classical designs used previously. The public loved it, and Lincoln has graced the penny ever since. The obverse, or front, of the coin features the iconic bust of Lincoln facing right, while the reverse at that time, including in 1994, still displayed the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 for the 150th anniversary of his birth. The Lincoln Memorial reverse would remain in place until 2008, making the 1994 penny part of that long-running and beloved era. In terms of design, the 1994 penny doesn't immediately stand out. On the front, you have Lincoln's portrait, sculpted originally by Victor David Brenner, with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," above his head, "Liberty," to his left, and the year, 1994, to his right. Just below the date is the mint mark, either a D for the Denver Mint, an S for San Francisco, or no mark at all, indicating the Philadelphia Mint. Flip the coin over and you'll see the detailed rendering of the Lincoln Memorial, with "United States of America" above, "E Pluribus Unum" right beneath that, and "1 cent" boldly below the building. If you look very closely, you can even make out the tiny figure of Lincoln seated inside the memorial, an extraordinary detail that showcases the intricate craftsmanship involved in minting even the smallest coins. By 1994, pennies were no longer made of solid copper. In fact, since mid-1982, the composition of the penny had changed to copper-plated zinc, 97.5% zinc with a thin copper coating. This change was driven by rising copper prices and the cost of producing the coin. So, the 1994 penny weighs just 2.5 grams and has a diameter of 19.05 millimeters. It's small, light, and cheap to produce, but as collectors know, it's not the weight or metal content that determines a coin's true value. It's all about rarity, condition, and those rare, fascinating mint errors that sometimes slip through quality control, and this is where things start to get exciting for the 1994 penny. While millions of these coins were minted, over 6.5 billion from Philadelphia alone and more than 7 billion from Denver, not all of them were created equal. A few coins from this massive production run stand out for their unique characteristics, and that's where the world of coin collecting truly comes alive. What makes some of these 1994 pennies special isn't visible to everyone at a glance, but under careful inspection, trained collectors can spot small flaws, unintended minting errors, that transform a common coin into a numismatic treasure. One of the most coveted errors found in the 1994 penny is the double die variety. A double die error occurs during the hubbing process, when the coin die receives more than one misaligned impression from the design hub. This leads to a visible doubling of elements on the coin, typically in the text or features of the portrait. For the 1994 penny, the doubling can sometimes be seen in the date or in the inscriptions like "Liberty" or "In God We Trust." When this type of error is strong and easy to detect, collectors rush to grab it because it's both rare and visually striking. Another highly collectible error involves off-center strikes, which happen when the coin blank is misaligned in the coining press. Depending on how far off-center the strike is, the coin might display only part of the design or may have a crescent-shaped blank space where the die didn't hit the planchet. Off-center pennies are rare and can range in value depending on how dramatic the misalignment is and how much of the design is still visible. There's also the possibility of coins being struck on the wrong planchet entirely, like a penny struck on a dime or foreign coin planchet. These errors are extremely rare, and when discovered, they often make headlines in the coin collecting world. Imagine holding a 1994 penny that's the wrong weight, wrong metal, and possibly a completely unique anomaly. That's exactly the kind of coin that drives collectors wild. Of course, error coins aren't the only way a 1994 penny can become valuable. The condition of the coin, its grade, is incredibly important. Most coins found in circulation are scratched, worn, and discolored. These are considered to be in low grades and are generally worth little more than face value. But coins that are uncirculated, those that never entered the hands of the public and were preserved in pristine condition, can be graded by professional services and awarded designations like MS 65, MS 67, or even MS 69. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin. A perfectly preserved 1994 penny with rich luster, no visible marks, and strong strike details can fetch serious attention at auction, especially when paired with a rare mint error. Over the years, collectors have scoured bank rolls, pocket change, estate sales, and old piggy banks looking for hidden gems among these everyday coins. The thrill of the hunt, the idea that something so ordinary could actually be worth a small fortune, keeps collectors motivated and hopeful. There's a kind of magic in discovering a rare error or a flawless specimen hiding in plain sight, especially when it comes to something as overlooked as a 1-cent coin. So, as we wrap up this journey through the story of the 1994 USA 1-cent penny, it's clear that this little coin is much more than a piece of small change. It carries with it history, craftsmanship, the legacy of a great American president, and, if you're lucky, the possibility of extraordinary value. Not every penny will make you rich, but some will absolutely surprise you with how much they're worth. And now, the big reveal. One particular 1994 penny, featuring a rare and dramatic double die obverse and preserved in near-perfect mint state condition, was recently sold at auction for a jaw-dropping $83,000. Yes, a coin worth just 1 cent on the surface ended up becoming a high-value collectible that most people would never believe possible. So next time you see a penny on the ground, or one in your change, take a closer look. You never know what treasure might be staring back at you. The 2006 USA 1-cent penny might seem like an ordinary, everyday coin, something you'd find in your pocket, toss in a tip jar, or drop without a second thought. But the story behind this small piece of copper-plated zinc goes much deeper than you might expect. It's a story of history, of design, of subtle minting variations that turn a common coin into an extraordinary collector's item. And, just maybe, it's a story of value, of finding something truly special hiding in plain sight. By the end of this journey, you might never look at a penny the same way again. To understand the importance of the 2006 penny, we have to first appreciate its heritage. The 1-cent coin has long been a staple of American currency, with a legacy that stretches all the way back to 1793. But its modern identity is tied closely to the image of President Abraham Lincoln, who has appeared on the obverse side of the coin since 1909, marking the centennial of his birth. Lincoln's dignified profile, facing right, is instantly recognizable, etched into the memory of generations of Americans. It's more than just a design, it's a tribute to a president whose leadership defined a nation. The 2006 Lincoln penny continues this legacy. On the front of the coin, Lincoln's bust remains unchanged from Victor David Brenner's original design, with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust," above, "Liberty," to the left, and the date, 2006, on the right. Depending on the mint location, you'll find a small letter below the date, either a D for the Denver Mint or no mark at all for Philadelphia. The reverse side of the coin features the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 that remained until the 2009 redesign. On this side, the words "United States of America" curve along the top, with "E pluribus unum" just beneath them. The grand image of the Lincoln Memorial stands at the center, and below that is the denomination, 1 cent. It's a simple design, yet rich in symbolism and artistic detail. By 2006, the penny was being minted using copper-plated zinc, a change that occurred in 1982 due to the rising cost of copper. This newer composition consists of 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper, making the coin lighter and less expensive to produce. The switch also introduced a few complications in the minting process, which sometimes resulted in unexpected and highly collectible errors. So while the majority of 2006 pennies are common and carry little value beyond face, there are exceptions, coins with imperfections or rare features that make them stand out in a sea of billions. Over 8 billion pennies were minted in 2006, 5.6 billion in Philadelphia and nearly 3 billion in Denver. With numbers like that, it might seem impossible for any single coin to be valuable. But coin collectors know better. They know that even in massive production runs, mistakes happen. And sometimes, those mistakes go unnoticed until years later, when collectors find them and realize just how rare they really are. Among the most sought-after types of 2006 pennies are those with minting errors. One example is the double die coin, a mistake made during the die creation process, when the design is struck more than once in slightly different positions. This results in letters, numbers, or even Lincoln's face appearing with a ghost-like doubling effect. Coins with clear doubling, especially on the date or inscriptions, are instantly more desirable to collectors. There are also off-center strike errors, where the blank coin wasn't properly aligned during minting. These coins might show only part of the design, with a blank crescent-shaped area where the strike missed. The more dramatic the misalignment, and the more of Lincoln's image that remains, the more collectors are willing to pay. Then there are clipped planchets, where a piece of the metal blank is missing, creating an oddly shaped edge. Or die cracks, where the die used to strike the coin was damaged, leaving raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin surface. In addition to errors, condition plays a massive role in a coin's value. Most coins go through life in people's pockets, wallets, and change jars. They get scratched, worn, and tarnished. But some coins, by luck or design, are preserved in pristine condition. These are the coins that fetch the highest prices. Coins graded MS-65 and above, mint state, with minimal marks or imperfections, can attract serious attention, especially when combined with a rare error or unusual feature. For example, a 2006 penny in perfect condition, showing a dramatic double die on the obverse, becomes more than a coin, it becomes a collector's prize. These rare combinations are few and far between, but when they appear, they can command shocking prices at auction. Sometimes, it's not even about a visible error, sometimes it's about rarity within a specific variety. A coin minted using a particular die, a special finish, or a test run with a different alloy can suddenly become the centerpiece of someone's collection. Collectors often search through rolls of pennies looking for these rare finds. It's a process that requires patience, a good eye, and sometimes a little bit of luck. But the reward, both in terms of discovery and potential profit, makes it worth the effort. Coin collecting isn't just a hobby for some people. It's a passion. A pursuit of history, beauty, and the thrill of uncovering something special where no one else thought to look. The 2006 penny might not be ancient or flashy. It doesn't sparkle like silver or glimmer like gold. But it holds something just as valuable, the chance that among billions of ordinary coins, yours might be the one that breaks the mold. That's the magic of coin collecting. And it's what makes even the smallest, most overlooked coins so endlessly fascinating. So if you've got a jar full of old change sitting on your shelf, or a handful of coins jingling in your pocket, take a closer look. Flip through them carefully. Examine the date, the details, the edges. You might just come across a 2006 penny that looks a little different, a coin that feels a little heavier, a little sharper, or maybe just a bit off. And that little difference could mean a big payday, because believe it or not, one rare 2006 USA 1-cent penny, featuring a highly unusual error and preserved in immaculate condition, recently sold for an incredible $24,000. That's right, a single penny, worth just 1 cent on its face, changed hands for a life-changing amount. And it's proof that treasure doesn't always come in gold bars or treasure chests. Sometimes, it's hiding right there in your change, and there you have it, the fascinating world of Lincoln pennies, where even a tiny coin can hold a huge story and sometimes even a huge value. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your fellow coin lovers, and leave a comment below if you have any rare pennies of your own. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on more exciting coin stories, rare finds, and surprising values hiding in your change. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy collecting.